This is the second of the 266 Bassmans here. I'm waiting for a new volume pot to arrive here. For right now, I've got the grid going to ground. I've got shielded wire in, and it's passing beneath the lower board, and the microphonics are gone. I'm not sure if you can hear this in the background, but there's still a rushing water noise, and all the resistors that are the likely suspects have been changed. It's possible that it's, let me get this to focus right. It's possible that it's one of these remaining original 1 megs here, but they don't go very bad. They don't go bad very often. And if I mute the input of the grid of V2, the amp goes totally silent. It's hard to do this on camera for some reason. So the water noise is either here or before that. And right before that stage, you've got a wire underneath the board from this plate resistor going to this 220K. And then there's a wire from here to this plate resistor, and then also to the input of the phase inverter. And those wires run across each other, very close to each other, oftentimes in parallel. The board compresses them. As I mentioned before, the cloth can get cloth insulation can get dirty and it stops to insulate. So I suspect that that's the problem. So I hate having to do this because it's a drastic kind of thing, and to undo it is a difficult thing with a lot of work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these wires, take the wires out from underneath the board and run them over the board, twisted like you see these factory wires. In my experience, that reduces this kind of noise in AB165s, and hopefully that will do the trick here. You may not be able to hear it in the background of this video, but the rushing water sound is enormously lower now that I have these wires going over the board to the same place as the wires beneath the board did, but they're running farther away. Let's see if I can get this to focus. These are the old wires I pulled out, and they're kind of saturated with just some kind of junk. They've got spots where other wires were pressed against them. They've got a lot of stuff in the wire, in the insulation. So the amp sounds a lot better without them. There's a little bit of a still higher noise floor than I would like, and I suspect it's this old wire here going from here to the grid of V3. Now V3 has a lot of gain, has a local negative feedback which helps attenuate that to a degree, keep it in check, but it's still a fairly high noise floor section. So given how funky the wires beneath the board that I just removed are, it does not surprise me that I'll also need to replace this grid wire. If someone really wanted this 100% the way it was new, I could pull the entire thing and redo the entire thing, recreate everything from 1966. I would end up replacing all the cloth-covered wire with new stuff. I could do the time machine thing, but you're paying a premium for nothing that you'll hear. And this approach sounds better than the stock approach on these amps. You know, Fender never expected us to turn these things up. Mwahaha. Well, now I know you aren't hearing it in the background because it's not there in the background to hear. So, shielded that last grid, and I noticed the old ground wire here was really pulled tight because the board had arced so much. So I replaced that with some new 20 gauge. So that ground is not under so much stress, and it's a much tougher wire. So this thing's going to be great. Just waiting for that replacement volume pot to arrive.